Off the Ball Network is we're about to dive into some mid-season grades for the offense. QB, running back, offensive line, all the positions. We'll hit all of them in today's episode of Locked On Buckeyes.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes, part of Locked On Podcast Network. I am your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And those of you that are tapped in and watching us on YouTube and Twitter on a Wednesday, a special edition as myself and Jeff Hunt from the Off the Ball Network will be providing mid-season grades for the offense. Jeff, the football team, I just got done talking about basketball. The football team is 5-1. A lot of good things from the offense we have seen. Jeff, how you doing? And I know you got some good thoughts about this football team so far.
I'm doing great, man. You know, I do the Buckeye Remix every week, and I do a report card each week for most, the positions that you're going to talk about. So this is right in my wheelhouse. I'm excited, and I love being on the Locked On Buckeyes podcast any chance I get, bro.
Absolutely, man. You're here. We have done a few shows together. I'm glad you could be here, helping the students get graded at the beginning, at the middle portion of the season. As a student, Jeff, I didn't like school. I didn't like grades. I'm sure some of these kids don't want to go to class, but they have to. And so, we got to be fair, provide the grades at this part of the season.
It's fair, man. I'm a tough teacher. Everybody that listens and watches my show knows I'm a tough teacher, but I believe I'm a fair teacher, and I believe that I give constructive criticism.
Constructive criticism, a good word that a teacher would use all the time. We're going to go quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and then offensive line in that order. So if you're taking notes with us, get your pen and paper out. Maybe provide some grades of your own. Share them with your friends, your family, your coworkers at the barbershop to keep, even though this is an off week for the Ohio State football team, we can keep the conversation going all week long. With Jeff being the guest, we'll give Jeff the first shot to go first. Jeff, the quarterback position, what is your grade for Stroud, McCord, and Miller? Because all three have played throughout a portion of this season.
That's fair, man. And keep in mind, everybody, this is a grade so far this season, not, going into next week. I gave him a B. Obviously, this is a Stroud-heavy conversation, but we did have an entire game played without him. And essentially it was this, just like everybody saw, I can't ignore the first two games where his accuracy was way down. It was a problem. It caused the team problems, especially we talk about the Tulsa game. But I also say that he's grown, he's learned. As a student of the game, he showed us that he can get in the room, he can take the coaching, and he can get better and better. And he's literally, I think 2 weeks ago, he had a perfect quarterback rating. So if you can have a perfect score on a test, so to speak, he had one. He's gotten better and better. He looks great right now. He looks the part. And what I admire most is that he took as a young guy, he essentially, I know he sat out for injury, but we all know that it felt like getting benched at that moment. We don't look at it that way now. He took that and he came out of that better, and the guys that replaced him did a great job. So I give the position overall a B, rising.
And just for everyone listening right now, normally there will be follow-ups for how Jeff and I do go with the show. He'll say something or I'll say something. We'll have a follow-up. Due to the portion and the nature of this show, there probably will not be much follow-up, just going boom, boom, boom as far as quarterback, running back, getting grades out, just trying to get our thoughts out about the offense right now. Jeff, for the offense and the quarterback position specifically, I'm going B+. Now, normally I'm a tougher grader than this. The only reason I am higher than a B, because as you said it so well, we cannot erase the beginning of the season. We cannot erase the Oregon game when Ohio State had chances to score down the stretch in that game, and there were no points put on the board. You can say whatever you want about the offense and not being able to set the edge, not being able to tackle, not being able to read and react, whatever you want to say. You can't score points against that defense in that game, which that's a defense that's not, to me, as good as some of the better defenses in college football. That's a problem. B plus for all three of them. I think we saw Stroud and strides from him throughout portions of the season. I do think he will get better. B plus right now. And as weird as it is, and I'm going to say this, the collective group B plus, Stroud would be higher, but even then, maybe higher, but even then, he's in the Heisman race. And I don't think many people were putting him in the Heisman race, top 3, top 5 at the beginning of the season. So the next 6 games for Stroud, Jeff, will be hopefully, a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, let's hope so, man. I can't argue with your grade.
Running backs, Jeff, what you got?
I went B plus on this one, and I know it sounds crazy, but the running backs look great. We're not getting a ton of production out of Williams and Teague. You know, they're spellbacks, but they also. I understand this offense doesn't need them, so part of this is like how much does the offense need them, and I grade them a little more separately on the running part of it than the receiving part of it. Trevion Henderson's is wonderful. You know, he's an A plus back. But, you know, also we just haven't leaned on the running game yet. So the meat and potatoes of what these guys are going to have to do the rest of the season in the cold weather and the rain and all these things start, that's when we're going to need them most. As of now, B plus, but I bet that's basically because I know what's coming up and I know how important they're going to be. But Henderson has just been just amazing. We can't say anything else about a kid that young and what he's done for, you know, a top 10 team in the country.
This is Locked On Buckeyes, guys, and part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Make sure, and I want to thank everyone for making this podcast the first listen of every single day. My guy Jeff Hunt is with us going over our midseason report card grades for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Jeff gave the quarterback position a what grade, Jeff?
I gave him a B.
Jeff gave I didn't write it down. That's my fault. Jeff gave the quarterback a B. I gave him a B plus. He gave the running backs a B plus. Myself as well, Jeff. I'm going B plus. Now,
oh, nice.
I was probably going to go a little bit higher, possibly A minus, because the pass catching ability of Henderson is amazing. His ability to pass protect is next level for a true freshman. The one knock to me over the entirety, the biggest knock to me. Now, this is a testament to Maryland, how they sold out to stop the run early on. But when you only average 1.9 yards a pop, you're putting your quarterback in a bad position the first half of any game or any portion of a game. I did not like that. And think about it. If you have McCord, you got Miller, even if you got Fields, I don't know. Big knock here. People are going to hate me for this. I don't know if Fields would have looked as good as Stroud did in that first half against Maryland because Fields held the ball way too long. That's my biggest knock against Fields. Stroud, his timing to get the ball out has looked really, really good, which I think is why he's looked so well this portion of the season. I also wonder, and I made this public, but I'm going to go ahead and do it now. I wonder how Fields' timing of the passing would have looked if he was going up against Stroud in practice. Now, I wonder that because last year, Stroud wasn't getting all those reps that were going to Fields, so he wasn't able to be like a competition. Fields was the quarterback. I don't know how I got on the quarterback competition conversation when we're talking about running backs, but I wonder because Stroud's timing has been next level so far. His anticipation has been something we didn't really see consistently with Justin Fields last year. My grade for the running backs is a B plus. It's primarily a knock from what we saw last week. It's just amazing that Stroud was able to play so well last week that even though they didn't really run the ball very well, he was moving the ball through the air and scoring on every drive except for the final drive of the first half when they kneeled the ball.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you saw there. That's why we leave the heavy lifted up to you, Jay. I saw the same thing. I'm like, here's what I'll say about that game real quick. I didn't get to do a Maryland show with you, but essentially this, I recognize the same thing that Ryan Day did, and I appreciate that he's like, all right, we're shifting gears just now. We're going to throw the ball. We're going to throw the ball all over the field. As Buckeye fans, we've complained about that for a long time. I saw the same thing you did. Maryland's like, we're going to cut this offensive line off at the knees. We're going to put up a big parking bumper in front of Henderson, and if they try to force it down our throat, we're going to get them in a wrestling match. Ohio State said, I beg to differ, turn Wilson and Olave loose, and game was over. But thanks for bringing that up and letting me get that off my chest.
Of course. Anytime. So we got a B plus for both Jeff and myself for the running backs. Jeff, a B. For the QB, I gave a B plus. Jeff, wide receiver. Both of us collectively love this position. So hard to describe with how well these guys are playing. What's your grade for the wide receiver group.
I just went ahead and gave him an A+. I try to talk myself
Wow.
out of I try to talk myself out of it, Jay, but what haven't they done? They're making great catches. They block for each other. They are running and you and I both like to watch the entire game like as a whole, like the all 22, so to speak. These guys are working to get each other open. I promise you, a lot of times, Wilson catches the ball. That means Olave or Njigba, who Jackson Smith and Jigba has. I love the guy. I love how he plays the game. I love his route running, everything about him. Like he's just every year I pick a couple guys, and I've just fell in love with Smith and Jigba. From last year to this year. Anyway, they work as a unit. They work as a team to get each other open, and then when they do get open, they don't only make the catches that they have to, they make the ones that are impossible. The touchdown to Olave, I think it was his second or third touchdown the other day, to where it essentially looked like it went through the defensive back. Those are difference-making catches. Wilson cannot be guarded. Njigba's close to that. Out of the slot, I don't know if they're – because college football is kind of like full of slot receivers when they go to the NFL. Like most receivers are going to be a slot receiver. Mm-hmm. And Jigba is an actual NFL slot receiver playing, in college football. And it's a mismatch against if it's a linebacker or if it's your nickel, defensive back. Until you get to the Iowas and, the Michigans of the world, it is a complete mismatch. Stroud could do whatever he wanted out there because of those guys. And they're also veterans. They get an A+ across the board. They've carried this team to this point and got them through this quote unquote tough times. Just love this group. So it's the best I've ever seen as a group.
A+. Wow. So I may be the tough grader here. Jeff, I'm going with an A. They've done almost.
Tough grade.
They've done almost everything they've been asked of them. They've had some critical drops. Now, okay, let me say this. They're not so much critical as far as like time of the game, possession, late in the game, you're up 5, you're up 10. If you drop this, you're going to punt it to your other team. The team can potentially make it a one-score game. Not in that point. More so critical because that could be a first down. That could be moving the chains. Those types of drops. That may be the only knock against this team. And you could say, well, Jay, Stroud's throwing the ball high. No, the drops I'm talking about, they hit both of their hands, bro, and they're just dropping the ball. So that's
the Olave drop. The Olave drop was devastating in the Tulsa game. I know that's one that's on your mind.
Yes. It's an A. An A is not bad. An A is passing. These are two guys at the top that can be first-round wide receivers. Can be. I'm not sure going into the pre-draft process before the season that these guys were looked at as potential, both of them, potential first-round picks. That's the potential. Jackson Smith and Jigba could be a future day 2 pick. I'm not saying day 1 yet. We haven't seen enough to say he's a round 1 guy. Day 2, I mean round 2 or round 3. I think he is that good down the road to potentially be a second-round or a third-round pick. That's a major projection. I'm going to get into a projection that in tomorrow's show when we talk about the defense, where I think Jay got it blatantly wrong. And one thing Jeff knows, I have no problem letting you know when I get something wrong. This wide receiver group, if they didn't have those drops, they're blocking well downfield. They're doing what's asked of them. If it's a rub route for one of the receivers, they know they might get a penalty called on them. They're still going to run it and do it successfully. These crossing routes, bro, they're downright sometimes illegal. But the refs don't call them because I think they're in awe, just like we are, of what's going on the field. An A, Jeff, from me, you gave an A+. Jay goes A little bit tougher of a grade. I don't like those drops.
Real quick, probably what moved it to an A+ was Wilson runs a fade route from the 5-yard line the other day and gets open by 5 yards. There's only 15 yards to the back of the end zone. He gets wide open. Stroud throws a perfect pass. It was one of the I'm not even like over exaggerating. It was one of the best routes I've ever seen run. Man to man, there's absolutely it's no chance. He's as good as I thought he was going to be.
Jeff, he was untouched off the line. You're in goal line. You're 3 yards off the defense, off the guy that you're guarding. The defender doesn't get his hands on him. I'm sitting here like, how in the world? What is Brian Hartline? I know what he's teaching, but these guys are doing it way better than the teacher is teaching it because it's like, hey, you're 3 yards off of me. I'm going to do one move, go inside, go outside. You don't touch me. Guys in the NFL can't do that.
quickly it reminded me of Devontae Adams. That's
Yes.
the image that I had in my head as far as like you give me 2 yards and I make space. It was unbelievable. And by the way, Stroud threw that ball perfectly. He threw it, once he recognized it, he didn't put Wilson in a situation to have to toe tap in the back of the end zone. He threw it hard with purpose, perfectly. Just that was my favorite play of the game. I was like, okay, these guys are for real. I feel good about this. So don't go man to man with Wilson. That's what I would say. Loved it.
You can't go man to man against any of those three.
No,
you really can't because
it's crazy right now.
You mentioned the nickel corner. The nickel corner on any team cannot guard Smith and Jigba. I don't care what college team it is. It can't happen.
And he's doing a great job downfield too, which is a Brian Hartline staple. I think he might be the. I know he's up for the award. He's one of the best position coaches in America. He's just doing an unbelievable job.
This is Locked on Buckeyes. We are here, some of you live on a Wednesday, a special edition on a Wednesday evening, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every single day. Jeff Hunt from the Off the Ball Network is here with me. We're going over our mid-season grades to this point in the show. Jeff has given the quarterbacks a B, running backs a B+, wide receivers an A+. Myself, I have given the quarterbacks a B+, running backs a B+, wide receivers an A. 2 more positions left on the offense. Jeff, tight end, where you at?
This was a tough one. I give them a B. We talked about this, and this because there's just not a lot of tight end stats unless they're receiving tight ends. And these modern, everybody runs one now with these RPO offenses. The tight end is asked to do so many tiny things. I did a segment a couple years ago on my show about what a tight end had to do sometimes. And there's so many routes. And these are pass routes, but a tight end has to block. He has to sell a block for 2 seconds. He has to slow a defensive end down. And then he has to get out, into the pass route. And he has to try and get open and maybe to drag. And that might all that might do is drag a wide receiver or distract the nickel corner. And that opens somebody up. So if you go, basically what I do is I look at a touchdown. If Olave scores a 50-yard touchdown, I rewind it and I see what every receiver did. And a lot of times these tight ends are doing a great job, even if it's a chip, if it's given, the quarterback 0.2 more seconds there. So I give them a B because they're doing their job. Rucker looks really good. I think that on a different, if they decided to, this offense could be, revolve around him and he could have one of the highest stat totals in the country. I think because he's that good, of a tight end. I really do believe it. But they just do everything they're asked. Stroud just doesn't get touched. If you're going to, let's put it this way. If we're going to say we got the best receiving core in America, part of the time at tight end is included. If we're going to say the best running backs, tight end is included a lot in that. If we're going to say one of the best offensive lines, tight end is also an extension of that. They're the most versatile and important players in these RPO offenses. So if we have all three of those things, tight end's doing something right. So I a solid B, and I don't feel guilty at all about that.
I'm a tough grader. I'm going a little bit a shade better than that. I'm going B+ because their blocking has been exceptional. I don't believe Trayvon Henderson looks the way that he does and gets a lot of these runs that sometimes are untouched if it's not for Joe Royer, who's got some touch run at the end of last game. But Ruckert, you get Mitch Rossi, you get Gee Scott Jr., who's transferring positions, who is doing a really good job transferring positions when you're having to block guys that you're not around at all on the field previously when you're a wide receiver. I'm going B+. Now, I am only going B+ because the offense is not being asked of them to do very much in the passing game. And Ruckert had a drop or 2 in the most recent game. If there was a time for Day to say, okay, Ruckert, first half of the season, you're not a big part of the passing game. Coming out the next 6 games, think about this, Jeff. You got Olave on one side, on the outside. You got Wilson on another. And the slot next to Wilson on the right side is Njigba, and the slot next to Olave on the left side is Ruckert. You can't guard that.
No.
So I'm projecting, I'm thinking. I know Ryan Day's an innovator, a very good play caller, and he's really good at putting pieces together. I wonder if there's going to be a time where Ohio State will have to go 4 wide for some reason because the opposition can't guard them. So think about this. So I'm giving them a B+ because they're not really used much in the passing game. If I was just going off of running and run blocking, pass blocking alone, bro, I'll probably give them an A. I mean, that's how good they have been. So think about this. I know hypothetical, we're going all over the place, but this is just midseason stuff that I don't talk to Jeff much on this show about football, but we're doing it right now. Think about this, Jeff. You got Henderson in the backfield, shotgun or single back set. Then you got those 4 guys on the outside. Do you bring in a dime corner to guard Ruckert? What is he going to be? 6 foot 190? Sorry, bro. Do you bring out a linebacker? 6'3", 240? Sorry, bro. Do you want to bring in a strong safety? 6'2", 210? Sorry, bro. You can't guard him outside. And I do believe I've always thought Ruckert could have and be used in that way on the offense, but Day hasn't asked him to do that yet. At Big Ten Media Days, Ryan Day made a comment about how he thinks that this could be the year that a tight end breaks the all-time receptions single-season record at Ohio State. Ben Hartsock holds the record with like 30 catches and 31 catches.
I would have thought it was Dudley. I would have thought it was Jared Dudley. Man, great tight end. Anyway, yeah, Hartsock was a dude, though.
So think about this. We haven't seen much from Ruckert previously, and Ohio State put up 66 points against a Big Ten opponent a week ago. Could we see down the road, or maybe in the Michigan game, where Ryan Day says we want to put 100 on you? Said it last year, or if it was a rumor or not, who really cares? Could we see a variation where we go 4 wide set with Ruckert in the slot? I think that's possible, and I do think Ruckert is a mismatch, a big mismatch for anybody out there.
Yeah, I envision what are we talking about here, Jay? We're talking about 11 personnel, which is essentially the darling of the NFL right now. And then we talk about 11 personnel, not to belittle anybody, but that's 1 running back, 1 tight end. Mm-hmm. But what you do with that, like the NFL does, everybody knows Travis Kittle, they know Kelsey, they know George Kittle, all these guys. Essentially, what you can do with that, and then what you're saying is you see the mismatch. To piggyback on what Jay said, you look at who they bring in to cover that tight end. Well, now you might bring your tight end down, put him in line. Now you're running off tackle against a dime back. If they want to keep the bigger guy out there and take their chances, well, then maybe you just take your 5 or 7 yards that the guy's going to have to give Ruckert off the line. It opens it up, especially when you have a speed back like Henderson. It's really the perfect 11 personnel combination when you have a receiving back that can also run, off tackle between the tackles, and then you have a tight end that can catch the ball and block. It's just a devastating combination, and a lot of people they're fit. Almost every team in the NFL excels at this. Think Ravens, think San Francisco, LA Rams are one of the best ever at it. So I think if it winds up becoming necessary, if they can't keep up these 50-point blowouts, I think that's an absolute total option, and I think G. Scott can do it too. As a matter of fact, I think it's one of the it's a really good tight end room. Very versatile is what you want. I like your thought process. I haven't really thought a lot about that, Jay, but I love it.
Jeff, offensive line very, very quickly to wrap up this show. Where are you at for your grade for the O-line? Now, this is going to be everybody. Center, both guards, both tackles. We're not going to divvy them up and say right tackle, right guard. We're not going to do that. No, all 5 together as a unit. Where are you at?
Offensive line is a unit. I went really kind on this, essentially because C.J. Stroud, through the tough moments, through the Minnesota game especially, the guy looks like he fears nothing, and that's because his offensive line is blocking perfectly. They're built to pass block. They're not the greatest run blocking team because of the size. We won't get into that, but essentially – they do exactly what I gave him an A, because you can't grow a young quarterback without that protection. And then there's been like maybe 2 games to where the gaping holes they made for the running backs were also devastating, but they're doing their job perfectly. Stroud looks comfortable. That's full credit to them. I gave him an A.
I was very, 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 very close to going A-. The reason they're getting an A, and it's not a knock on them saying that they've been bad. They've actually been really, really good. You quickly change things. You have guys moving positions, shuffling things around. I mean, you really have a sophomore in Paris Johnson Jr. playing right guard who came in to play left tackle. I mean, I think that's the most crazy thing to think about how the right side of the offensive line is the most inexperienced, but at times looks the best.
Yes.
I mean, it's scary when you think about that. But you're having a chance, and I've seen this in the past couple games, where you're bringing in a Matt Jones left guard, moving the tackles around, DeJuan Jones may come off the field, and they're not losing a beat.
Yep.
I also have to knock them for a way. Now, I can't really knock them totally because it wasn't a lot of Maryland, but I cannot let them off the hook for the 1.9 yards a carry against Maryland. I can't do it at all. I don't care what's going on. I don't care who you're playing. I can't allow that at all to happen. Maryland's front is not as good as Rutgers' front, and you ran all over them. So to me, that's a knock against the O-line. But I mean, bro, if you're going at A, I mean, if we're looking at our grades, nobody has a C collectively for any position group right now on the offense. That's next level, bro. That's good stuff.
Yeah, the offense looks amazing. That just every unit's doing their job. The only that let's just be totally honest. This is it. The only thing that has slowed this offense down this year is CJ Stroud, his accuracy. That's it. Not to pick on him.
No,
I'm just saying, honestly, it's a couple drops like you mentioned. Last week I was unimpressed with the run blocking, but I also understand when you're going against a smaller defensive line, we can get into that. I'm sure you have, like on your show, but they just, they're doing their part, and especially the last 3 games, they look the part.
They do. Jeff, this has been fun. If you could, let the good people know where they can catch you on Twitter, then also where they can catch the Buckeye Remix and anything else you're doing right now during the football season.
Hey, I'm on Twitter at JHunt006. I put out college football playoff rankings every week. I put out NFL rankings every week, power rankings, so to speak. You can find me at Jeff Needs Sports, wherever you get podcasts. And you can also go check out Off the Ball Network for me and all the other guys putting out a lot of great content.
Guys, it has been fun. We're halfway through our midseason grades. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. That's one of the places to be tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we go over our grades for the defense. You can also catch that show live on YouTube as well at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A lot of good things going on, a lot of good stuff going on in the Big Ten Conference. Make sure you check out the Locked On Big Ten podcast with its host, Nate Dickinson, to stay up to date with everything going on with the Big Ten Football Conference.